In Haringey are with me now. I'm delighted to say we've got Dobbie, who's a co-councillor at Noel Park. We've got Isidoros Diakides, who's a councillor since the 1980s, and we've got Reg Race, who was a councillor since the 1990s. If I can start with you, Alan, at the time when Narendra, as I said, I grew up there, at the time when Narendra and yourself became councillors, it was coming through quite a difficult period after the battle for Wood Green, as was mentioned earlier. I call it the battle for Turnpike Lane, or more precisely the battle for Duckett's Common. And at the time, the BNP had an office right on Lordship Lane, just maybe 100 yards from where I lived. How did you change that? Because by the time you became councillors, or during your time, it became a harmonious community rather than a divided one.
Well, certainly it was a lot more harmonious, but there were still elements of the National Front in Noel Park. Indeed, there was mention of it earlier. In fact, there had been a council by-election in the late 1970s when the National Front scored 500 votes in Noel Park. And even now, you still get elements of it, but it's slowly gone over to UKIP. But in 1990, when I stood for the council in Noel Park with Martin Apadu, who lived opposite to Ninerendra, there we were. We had two Asian candidates. We had an out gay candidate in myself, and it was a tough election. We had a very nasty Tory councillor in Noel Park, a person called Bill Golden, who was just absolutely nasty. Wherever you went, there was just this kind of elements of racism, which is, we don't want these packages, we don't want these push-spin on the council. Well, thankfully, the good voters of Noel Park decided otherwise. And but when some of you may not realise, Ninerendra actually lost in 1990 in Noel Park, and Martin and myself took the decision that we would get Ninerendra on the council, come what may, no matter what, and we pressurised Bill Golden, the Tory, that within months he actually resigned his council seat. We then, and on the day before council meeting, I was notified by the chief executive that the Tory had resigned. So I called Martin and said, Martin, the Tory's gone, there's going to be a by-election. We need to get Ninerendra into the gallery for a full council meeting. So we called Ninerendra. We said, Ninerendra, are you wanting to be the candidate? Because, we're only two parts of the team. The full team is you, Martin, and myself. So I was being pressurised by Toby Harris and the leadership of the Labour group, and even had a phone call from then Andrew Mitchell, the Tory leader on the council, saying to me, you won't move a bit for the by-election, will you? Because the right wing on the party did not want Ninerendra back on the council. They were doing everything possible, not to let Ninerendra back on. And I said, no, don't worry, we won't move a bit or anything. 7:20, Martin and myself moved a bit for the council by-election. A week later, Ninerendra was selected as the Labour candidate for Noel Park. A few weeks later, he was elected onto the council, and then, just end on one brief story, if I can. What was really nice was that Ninerendra had very small majorities. In 1994, when the three of us got re-elected, he said, it's about 1,200 votes. And I thought, wow, Labour votes gone down. He goes, no, Alan, our majority is 1,200.
Greg, what do you remember of Ninerendra? You started relatively late, from the 90s, a mere youngster compared to them, I imagine. Did he welcome you on as a councillor? Did he help at all?
No, I started off in Haringey at council in 1990. That's the election Alan just referred to, and carried on more or less until now. So I got to know Ninerendra really as a local councillor, and he was a great man, a great friend, a great inspirational speaker, and a lot of guidance you get from Ninerendra. I mean, if you're in a difficult spot in the council, you want to support some measure you're trying to introduce, you could depend on a phone call from Ninerendra, give him guidance, or a tap on the shoulder, leave him sit and says, let's have a word about this. Very, very, very strong man. And someone asked a question to me recently about what do I think about Ninerendra, and I think he had a big regret. Dan Abbott has spoken about not being an MP. I think that's right. He had a big regret of not being an MP. He also had a regret of not being the leader of Harringay. Because I remember in 2000, must be 2006, I think, before that they joined me and stepped down as leader. Myself, Ninerendra, and Charles stood as candidates for the leadership of the council. After some chat with Ninerendra, myself and him withdrew and left it open for Charles. But I think his biggest regret was not becoming an MP. We hear all this tremendous talent, tremendous ability. Everyone had wonderful things to say about Ninerendra, but I think he would have made a wonderful MP, outstanding MP. And as Dan said, it is Harringay gained, but Parliament lost, in respect of him not being an MP. So, we're sad to miss you, brother Ninerendra, and never mind, you left behind some noble and great lessons, which we shall follow. I suspect there's one other thing that Ninerendra regretted, and that's not seeing Jeremy Corbyn walk through black at number 10.
Yes, Councillor Isidoros Diakides. You are from the 1980s, you've been a councillor all that time, and at that time there would have been, Harringay was heavily Greek and Turkish Cypriot, wasn't it, at the time? How does black sections, what Ninerendra perhaps represented, how does that fit into the patchwork of communities that was Harringay at the time?
Can I just say, I think that the bit that I would like to bring out a bit is around the very early 90s is when I met and worked with Ninerendra and discovered one of his main qualities, this ability to combine idealism with down-to-earth pragmatism and inventiveness. I used to call him the Makanji because he would always be the one who would find the solutions. An example at the time was the black sections that we had for Councillor Wood Green, the local one, and the Anti-Racist Alliance. He pushed me on both of those to be the coordinator of those, with a plan. And he convinced me to stand for the council as well. He really was very much encouraging people, to pick them up. But the plan was how we will actually do something that will have an impact, and how we will get the council to really move to the next stage in race and equality. And we devised that strategy about, first of all, having the local Harringay black agenda. Now, it was 4 of us, Ninerendra, it was Jamil Hasnassar, Roger Makanji, you heard from a little bit before, and myself. We spent weeks on writing the Harringay black agenda with numerous people making contributions. Reg had made contributions, others at the time. A very detailed program of what the next council should do in every part of the council, as well as some shrewd things like strengthening and making more independent our race unit, because rather than being under the control of the management, and setting up we call it initially the scrutiny panel, the scrutiny things at the time, will be by definition only the councillors, couldn't be anybody else, therefore it couldn't really be manipulated by anybody else, and that had tremendous impact. And then when we went into the council, we implemented all these things because they were already in the manifesto. Our black agenda, Ninerendra had the context in every ward. We went to every ward, we promoted it, and with the model resolution to be included in the local manifesto, and we went to the manifesto with it being a full part of the manifesto. And that, to a certain extent, just use that as an example, how Ninerendra's experience, organizational ability, this pragmatism, down-to-earth pragmatism, was a crucial lesson for all of us. I think Roger mentioned something similar when he was talking earlier on, Roger Makanji. That's what we learned quite a lot from that, the real pragmatism in addition to the idealism.
Ladies and gentlemen, councillors Isidoros Diakides, Mr. Reg Race and Dobbie as well.